Hey guys, welcome back. So tonight, dim the lights, get cozy, and prepare to float through about 2,500 years of human confusion. Because let's be honest, history is basically just people being confused, making questionable choices, and somehow ending up worshipped for it. And tonight's main character? None other than Siddhartha Gautama, or as the marketing department of ancient India later branded him, the Buddha, the awakened one. The man who figured out suffering, and then spent the rest of his life politely explaining it to people who mostly wanted to argue. But before he was Buddha, he was just a kid, a prince, with helicopter parents, and a father who desperately wanted him to be normal, which of course guaranteed that he wouldn't be. We start in the foothills of the Himalayas, northern India, around the 5th century BC. Siddhartha was born into the Sakya clan, a ruling warrior family. His father, King Suddhodana, wasn't some massive emperor, more like the CEO of a mid-sized kingdom with big ambitions. Now, according to legend, his birth came with more drama than a royal Netflix series. His mother, Queen Maya, dreamed of a white elephant entering her side, which in ancient dream speak, was apparently a good omen. A heavenly pregnancy announcement, if you will. Then, when the baby was born, sages rushed in to examine him like he was a new iPhone release. Their prophecy? Either this child would become a universal king, or a wandering holy man. Naturally, the king preferred universal king. I mean, who wouldn't? One option gets you power, armies, and monuments. The other gets you poverty, begging bowls, and probably a bad haircut. So, the king hatched a plan, raised Siddhartha in such luxury that he'd never even think about renouncing the world. And when I say luxury, I mean curated paradise. Palaces for every season. Servants. Silk. Music. Gardens. The king even banned old people from being seen around the palace, because nothing kills a vibe faster than realizing you'll one day need a cane. The goal was simple. No suffering, no questions. Just bliss. Which, spoiler alert, didn't work. Because as history has repeatedly proven, kids who grow up in bubbles always find ways to pop them. Fast forward. Siddhartha grows up pampered, trained in martial arts, politics, and philosophy, married young to a princess, Yasodhara, even had a son, Rahula. On paper, he was living the ancient equivalent of the influencer dream. Family, wealth, abs, and more palaces than Airbnbs. But deep down he wasn't satisfied. Something itched. Something felt off. And eventually, he ventured out of the palace, which in hindsight, was the king's worst idea since banning reality itself. Because that's when Siddhartha encountered the four sights. First, an old man, wrinkled, weak, struggling to walk. Siddhartha, in his 20s, was basically shocked. Like, wait, this happens to everyone, including me. Second, a sick person, groaning, sweating, suffering. Siddhartha's mind was blown again. Apparently, he had never seen anyone with the flu. Third, a corpse. And yes, this was the big one. The realization that death wasn't just an abstract concept. It was universal. Even princes. Even kings. Even him. And finally, the fourth sight. A wandering monk. Calm. Detached. Living simply. No palace. No palace drama. Just quiet acceptance. And that planted the seed. Back in the palace, Siddhartha spiraled. Call it a quarter-life crisis, call it spiritual awakening. Same vibe. He looked at his wealth, his wife, his newborn child, and instead of joy, he felt trapped. Like all of this was just temporary. A golden cage. So, one night he did the dramatic thing. While the palace slept, he kissed his wife and son goodbye, climbed onto a horse, and rode off into the night. Left behind everything. Family, wealth, inheritance. Basically ghosted the entire Sakya kingdom. In modern terms, it's like deleting your social media, selling your house, and announcing you're going off-grid in search of meaning. Only, with fewer hashtags. So there he was. No longer Prince Siddhartha. Just a wandering seeker. Searching for truth. Satya. The path that makes sense of suffering. And here's where the experiments began. First, he found teachers of meditation. Hardcore types. The ones who said, if you hold your breath long enough, or detach your mind deep enough, you'll hit transcendence. And Siddhartha was good at it. He mastered deep trances, reached states of stillness most people would mistake for being dead. But when he came out of them, the same old truth was waiting. People still got sick. People still died. His own cravings weren't gone. So, nice try but not the ultimate solution. Then came phase 2, extreme asceticism. And when I say extreme, I mean the man practically auditioned for most miserable human alive. He ate almost nothing, just a few grains of rice a day, held painful postures, pushed his body to the edge. He became so thin that his spine looked like a ladder poking out of his back. People admired him, thought he was hardcore. But Siddhartha himself eventually realized, starving yourself doesn't solve suffering. It just adds new suffering. Congratulations, you've achieved enlightenment in dizziness. So one day he did something shocking. He ate properly, accepted a bowl of milk rice from a village girl named Sujata, nourished himself. And the other ascetics? They were horrified. They abandoned him, whispering that he had betrayed the path. But Siddhartha had seen it clearly. Neither palace luxury nor extreme self-torture was the answer. The truth lay somewhere in between, a middle way. And so he sat, under a Bodhi tree, cross-legged, breathing, determined not to get up until he understood the root of it all. Days passed. His mind churned, then stilled. He faced memories, fears, desires. And finally clarity. He saw suffering for what it was. Saw the endless cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. Saw craving as the fuel that keeps the wheel spinning. And when morning came, Siddhartha Gautama was no longer just Siddhartha. He was the Buddha, the awakened one. No angel strampitid. No confetti. Just a quiet man under a tree, realizing that humans spend their entire lives clinging to things they can never keep. Now let's pause. Because what exactly was this truth he found? He boiled it down to the 4 noble truths, which, let's be honest, are less like cosmic secrets and more like common sense that no one wants to hear. First truth. Life is suffering. Not just stub-your-toe suffering, but the deep, nagging dissatisfaction that comes with everything. Even good things fade. Second truth. The cause of suffering is craving. Desire. The constant itch for more wealth, more pleasure, more validation. We chase, we cling. And when things slip away, as they always do, we suffer. Third truth. It's possible to stop suffering, which is the good news. Fourth truth. The way out is the Noble Eightfold Path. A life of balance, ethical living, mindfulness, meditation, and wisdom. Simple, obvious, but also profound. And from that moment on, Buddha's life shifted. He wasn't chasing enlightenment anymore. He was sharing it. His first audience? The 5 monks who had abandoned him. He tracked them down at Deer Park near Benares. They were skeptical at first. But when he spoke of the middle way, something clicked. They became his first disciples. The Sangha was born. From there, it spread. Village, cities, kings, farmers, merchants, ordinary people, sick of being trapped in cycles of craving, found solace in his words. And the irony? The man who walked away from royal life ended up being followed by more people than any king of his age. So this is where we